I want to talk to the high achiever, someone who has built something real, a business, a career, a title, a reputation, and who is now sitting quietly with this unsettling feeling that something needs to change. Not because it's failing, but because you've outgrown it. And the reason you haven't moved isn't because of fear. It's actually something so much harder to admit. It's that you don't know who you are without it. And there's a moment when that identity crisis peaks. I'm going to tell you exactly what that moment is and what to do when it arrives. Now, here's what no one will tell you. When you pour years into building something, your time, your energy, your identity, they don't just give you money. They give you status. They give you a sense of being, a sense of who you are. And the more successful you become inside that thing, the more fused to it you become. You stop being someone who does something and you become that thing itself. How do I know? Because I've lived this. When I was running my 3 Keller Williams Realty franchises, I was asked who I was. And here's the thing. I would tell you about my title before I told you about myself. I would tell you I was the operating principal and that guy who built that thing we're going to call Recruiting Bridge because it was. That was the thing that I built. I was Keller Williams. I was Recruiting Bridge. And on the outside, everything looked exactly right. The income, the notoriety, the influence, a team that ran all 3 of those companies that I called the Coastal Vision Team because their job was to bring the vision to life. That's who I was, or at least that's who I thought I was. And then something changed. I sold the companies. I successfully exited all 3 of them. And here's the part that after those exits, post-exit that no one talks about. I'll get there in just 1 second. Here's the thing that makes identity crisis so hard to name. It's not just about you. You see, a lot of high achievers are not afraid of losing titles for themselves. They're truthfully afraid of what other people around them will actually think if something changes. Your spouse, your parents, heck, maybe even your kids, your coworkers, your neighbors, your colleagues, that one guy that used to introduce you as, this is the guy who built that. And that fear, I know that fear, that specific fear of how you will be perceived when the title or titles change, that's the thing that keeps most high achievers stuck over anything. Because you see, we are wired to belong, not just win. And when that identity that you've built becomes the basis for your belonging, walking away doesn't just feel like a decision. It feels like you're losing part of you and your people too. But here's the part that I really want you to hear, and I want it to sink in. It's normal. It's not a weakness. It's not an ungratefulness. It's not a sign that you should stay. It's simply proof that you're human. And the fact that you do feel it doesn't mean you're wrong and you need something different. Stay with me here because this is the part that I'm about to share that took me the longest to figure out. And it literally changed everything. As I mentioned, I had successful exits, and they were great exits. By every external measure, they were massive wins. And I'll be honest with you, those wins, they felt not like wins. They felt like I was quietly unraveling, actually. Not a celebration, actually not a relief. There was almost like a hangover feeling, kind of like a hollow silence of emptiness of this identity that I used to be. Because when you leave or exit something you've built, and especially something super successful, the world expects you to feel triumphant, right? There needs to be a ticker tape parade or a blimp going over with your name on it. Instead, though, you feel like you've lost the answer to the question, who am I? The title's gone, the team is gone, the daily structure of that told you where you're supposed to go is gone, and you're left with this deep, uncomfortable question that high achievers almost never have to sit with because high achievers are always building something. And here's that question: who am I when I'm not building? You see, I wasn't sure who or what others would think about me when I wasn't building. And that was the hardest part, not the financial transition, not figuring out what was next. The hardest part was sitting in that uncertainty of identity without reaching for a new title or something to replace the old one. And what finally helped me, the reframe that actually worked? I'm going to give you that in just 1 minute because it's not what most people think or what most people will tell you. You see, there's 4 stages, and I'm going to give you that framework of the 4 stages that high achievers have to go through when their identity needs to expand. Stage 1, conditioning. The conditioning is this is where you build a life that everybody told you to build. For your degree, climbing the job ladder, going to be that entrepreneur just like your father or just like your family members were. Whatever it was, you built it because that's what you were told success was supposed to look like. And you were defined by that definition of success. Now, hear me with this. Stage 1, conditioning, it's actually necessary. It just doesn't last forever. Now, stage 2, Stage 2 is what I call uncertainty. It's when something feels off and you just can't explain it. Everything around you looks right. Numbers are good. The team is good. The opportunities are there and are endless. And yet something inside of you just feels restless. You don't have words for it. I didn't have words for it, so I just ignored it. And I felt this. I've felt this now 3 times in my life. Leaving the tennis world, Beverly Hills tennis, leaving the Keller Williams realty franchise world, and sunsetting my recruiting bridge business. So with that unsettling feeling, I just ignored it. I pushed it away. And I told myself I was just tired. I was stressed out. I was actually feeling that in that space I was ungrateful. And I thought it would go away. But here's the thing, it doesn't go away. It actually just gets louder. Stage 3 is where you've got to sit in and create clarity. This is when you stop pushing away that feeling that you have in stage 2 and you actually start listening to it. You simply need to start asking yourself different questions. Not what should I build next, but more along the lines of what am I actually called to build? What is this feeling pointing towards? And for me, after I exited my franchises, that's when I started to write the white paper on the I Love Coaching community. Beach chair moment happened. I sat quietly. I heard God tell me Proverbs 13:20, which is walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. And my original vision was the I Love Coaching community, the tribe of coaches known around the world. I didn't know if it would work, but I just had to write it down because I was feeling called towards it. And stage 4 is when you actually take ownership. When I started writing this, I realized the ownership part was almost one of the most tricky ones because I actually had to stop waiting for permission and just go build. My dear mentor and coach of a long time, John Maxwell, calls this jumping the fence. You just take a step, not a perfect step, not a fully planned step, just a step, because you realize that feeling isn't going to stop by staying still. Quite frankly, the only way through it is to move forward. Here's the example that I had. I had a dream. I had a dream about a mentor. I called this mentor. Now, this was after I wrote the white paper. And I told this mentor, hey, I had a dream about you, and I think I'm supposed to come see you. Can I have 3 hours of your time? My mentor said, yes. If you fly to this place, I'll pick you up at this location. We'll come to my kitchen. We'll sit there, and we'll have a conversation. Great. We did that. I was supposed to leave at 7 p.m. to fly back to Charleston. We sat there until nearly midnight going over my white paper. My mentor was so happy and was so impressed by it that I simply just had to push forward and take that single step. And that was the first step that I took. Now, here's the reframe. And this is what I promised you at the top of this recording. This is that thing that actually changed how I saw all of this. The reframe went like this. What I had built was something that I did. It wasn't who I was. And it wasn't who I am. And I actually had to give myself permission to have more than just one chapter, right? The chapter of exiting those companies, the chapter of sunsetting that SaaS model. And I realized the feeling of being unsettled after a big win isn't proof that something's wrong with you. I just looked at it like it was time for me to expand my identity. And what I realized is my calling was bigger than the container that I had been building it. And the biggest part of that is that I had to realize that the restlessness that I was feeling, this, gosh, just to describe it, it was an unsettled feeling, was a way of telling me that I had to listen to that signal because I'd actually been waiting for it for years. And when you're feeling that, I want you to know that you're not burning out. You're actually being called to something. And there's a big, massive difference between those two things. Burnout and being called to something different. So here's what I want to ask you, and I want you to sit with this. What have you outgrown? Not what are you frustrated with, because that's different. And not what's failing, because that's different too. What have you genuinely, maybe quietly, uncomfortably outgrown. And here's the thing, just being massively real with you, the answer to that really does matter. And you need to listen to it because it deserves more than just a simple passing of a thought. Now, if any part of this landed, if you recognize yourself in any of those 4 stages, I want you to do one thing right now because I want to connect with you and I want to know. I want you to drop the word attached in the comments if you feel that your identity is fused with what you're building right now. Not simply because I want to engage with you or it's a call to action, because naming it is the first step of releasing control of this feeling that it has on you. And if you want to hear more of this, simply subscribe and give me a follow because I'm just going to keep on telling this story. There's definitely more coming. Remember, what you have built or are building is something you did. It's not who you are, and you're allowed to have more than one chapter. I'll see you next time.